Hey guys, welcome back to Geared Forwards. My name is Paul, and today we're taking a look at the Wurkkos FC11C. First of all, I'd just like to say that this was provided by Wurkkos for review, and I'd like to thank them for that. However, they did not get any input into my opinion on this, the final outcome of this review, and they did not have any editorial input or early access to the review either. That said, as I did not pay for this, I am somewhat detached from the realities of the light, but I do my best to mitigate that in my review process. That said, let's go ahead and jump into a size comparison first of all, with our channel staples, the 91mm up top and 58mm down below. And then into the more flashlight specific comparisons, we have a AAA on the bottom and a AA on top. And we're here for the hashtag girth comparison. And this is an 18650 light, so let's compare this with a button top 18650. And now into a little bit of the design overall. This is a flat bottom magnetic tail light, so it can support its own weight quite well, and on that tail cap we do have a lanyard loop and some knurling to help disassemble the light. We have some ribbing for grip, some heat fins on the side, and then a rubber button with an indicator built in. Around the back we have a flap covering a USB-C port, and this is IPX8, I believe. Actually, let me just double check that. Yes, this is IPX8, so it's good up to 2 meters underwater. Around front we have, get that in focus, a relatively shallow reflector with an orange peel finish. And then pocket clip wise, single direction, emitter down, good bit of ramp to it. And now over on into the brightness and run times of the FC11. So I'll leave this on screen so you feel free to pause if you prefer to read. Now this light does offer both stepped and ramping, and the run times for ramping is going to heavily depend on what part of the ramp you're in, so we'll just ignore that for now. At moonlight, this is going to be 1 lumen for 500 hours, low is 50 lumens for 39 hours, mid 250 lumens for 7.5, high 600 for 2.7 hours, and turbo 1200 lumens for 2.5 hours. There is no step down information included here, but step down is natural, be it through heat or battery level dropping. So just assume that, especially on this high end, you're not going to get that for the entire duration. Moving on into the UI. First, we'll tackle stepped mode. So, just press and hold from off to get into this pretty low moonlight mode. And then a single hold is going to get you up through, so low, medium, high, and then double click into turbo. And then strobe warning, triple click into strobe. Strobe is now over. This does offer a electronic lockout, which is 4 clicks. As you can see, once that is initiated, you just get flashes, it will not turn the light on, and then 4 clicks to unlock it. If you do it quick enough. There you go. And then if you want to swap from the step to the ramping mode, you're just going to press and hold this until it flashes. So here it goes into moonlight, and then that's our acknowledgement. And we are now in ramping mode. And then exact same from off, you just press and hold until it flashes. And now we're back into step mode. So let's go ahead and jump into the pros, the good points of the FC11C. So first of all, it is quite a nice tent. This is 5000 Kelvin, and you do get quite nice colors out of this. Now, I am not personally, for lack of a better term, a tint snob, and I do generally tend to prefer cooler temperatures so that we get the higher lumen count, the brightness. I personally value that more in a flashlight, and it tends to be lanterns and things that I'm going to be using for prolonged periods of time, reading and stuff like that, that I tend to care more about tint. But on this light in particular, the tint is quite nice. And then around back, we do have a USB-C port, which is very nice standard charging. That's a definitely nice touch. The ability to go between stepped and ramped mode, and to be able to do that very simply and intuitively, rather than having a very convoluted flowchart to get there. That is an excellent point of the UI. The UI overall is very good. You can go straight into Moonlight, straight into Turbo, straight into Strobe, and then from there it's all very straightforward, very intuitive. The UI is very solid, and the fact that it offers two UIs easily swappable is a very strong point for this light. Another strong point for this light is going to be just generally it's quite grippy. Even in wet circumstances, rain, snow, that kind of thing, this should do pretty well. You're not going to drop it. But most importantly, in terms of the good, is the price. This is $28 with a battery, and that's kind of crazy in a lot of ways. Now, there are some places where that price tag is reflected, and we'll come to that. But overall, for $28, to get this with a battery included, this kind of fit and finish, this kind of performance, generally speaking, that's a very good thing, and it's highly recommendable just based on the value it provides from that low price versus the good that we've already gone over. With that said, let's go ahead and get into the negatives. First, as you know, I like USB-C charging. I don't like flaps. A part of the protection for this port, and presumably part of the IP rating, is coming from this flap, and eventually it will break off or degrade. But immediately it is annoying. Now, this is actually a pretty well designed flap in terms of proofing. You see you have this flare at the bottom to provide a seal. However, that means the better the seal, the more you have to do this nonsense. Like, you really got to get in and tuck it, and it's, you might not have to do this often depending how much you use the light, but generally speaking, flaps are not my preferred way to deal with charging. That's going to be a personal thing. You could even say it's a nitpick. It's a negative for me. Next, in terms of the kind of corners cut and just general negatives, I will say that this clip is entirely an afterthought from the bin of clips they have. Single direction, it's low on the flashlight. You've got a lot of the flashlight sticking out of your pocket. It's a perfectly fine clip. It's got a decent amount of ramp. It's got a decent amount of tension. It works just fine, but it's just fine. It's nothing to write home about. It's a weak point, for sure. And the same with the button material. The button material very much feels and kind of looks cheap. The button works fine. And this is a little biased because before I reviewed this light, I did review the HD01 and I did review the TD04. The TD04 button left a little bit to be desired, but the HD01 ones show that Wurkkos can make nice indicated lights, indicated buttons for their lights. And again, this is a nitpick. It's a $28 light with a lot of value. Those corners have got to come from somewhere, and the more basic elements of the design, that's an acceptable trade-off. I don't mind that whatsoever. Something I'm not a fan of is the beam pattern, and there will be a short showing the beam pattern up here. Whenever I do a flashlight review, there will always be an associated short put in a card up top to show you what the various brightnesses look like. And my problem with this really as a EDC flashlight, first of all, is that you're not going to get any real spill. I'm going to turn some lights off so you can hopefully see this better. So when you're holding this light, there's actually a decent amount of space in front of you where you're not going to get any spill, which means that you kind of have to angle the light downwards a bit more so you can actually see what's immediately in front of you. And then besides that, you can see this kind of ring artifact here from the reflector. So the beam has a defined hotspot, and then on the outskirts of the beam, you have kind of this border going on before you get some more spill. It's a very minor thing, and it doesn't impact the functionality particularly of the light at all. darkness. However, it's not my favorite beam pattern, and I do tend to prefer a little bit of spill at the feet for a general EDC kind of light, which is what I would call this. If this was a dedicated thrower, I wouldn't mention it. But seeing as this is the kind of light you would put in your pocket to go for a walk down a dark path, I would say that. That said, overall, this is a very solid light, and it's delivering a lot for the price. For that price and for the good, you can overlook a lot. This is an updated model of the FC11. This uses a constant current buck driver, which is more efficient and produces less heat. However, this is less bright than the alternative model. Pick whichever one you like. This is perfectly fine light. It does have a nice tint if you care about that, and it is excellent value. So if you're looking for a budget light and you don't care about some of the extra special stuff, you just want one that will do the job, I can solidly recommend the FC11. Then be sure to look down in the description below for links to get your own. Whilst you're down there, I would appreciate if you could let me know what you think of the FC11C, if there's any other Wurkkos lights you would like me to check out. And I would greatly appreciate a like and subscribe. It does greatly help the channel, and I do appreciate your support. If you'd like to support the channel further, then you do have the option of a coffee donation, Patreon membership, or YouTube channel membership, all of which helps get additional gear in front of the camera and behind it to help support the channel. That's it. I've been Paul. This has been the FC11C, and I will see you next time.